When MLS first started gaining traction, the league had a very clear strategy: sign global superstars. Players like David Beckham, Thierry Henry, and Rafael Marquez were brought in to legitimize the league, to make the soccer fans in the United States and around the world take MLS seriously. It was about brand growth, ticket sales, jersey sales, and global recognition. Later, we saw names like David Villa, Andrea Pirlo, Steven Gerrard, and Frank Lampard continue that model. But around 2017, the league pivoted. Instead of aging superstars, MLS began investing heavily in young South American talent. Atlanta United helped spark that shift when they signed Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez. Then clubs like LAFC followed with young stars like Diego Rossi. The goal, though, get younger, get faster, develop talent, sell players for profit, and become a true selling league. And while that made MLS more competitive and sustainable, it didn't explode the league's global popularity the way many expected. Now we're seeing another shift. MLS is returning to signing major global names, but this time they're blending that star power with young talent underneath. Big name grabs attention, young players build the future. And that balance might be the most important evolution MLS has made yet. In this video, we're breaking down why this new model matters, how it's going to affect the future of Major League Soccer, and why it's great to blend both of these strategies together in order to make the league better. But before we get into that, make sure you guys like this video down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. So when we're talking about players that have come to Major League Soccer and the big names that I mentioned throughout the years who have helped this league grow, we saw what they were able to do with getting MLS on the map. We talk about David Beckham all the time as one of the first biggest players to come to Major League Soccer with that global appeal. And it did get a lot of eyes on MLS and the LA Galaxy. And we saw the trend continue. And about 3 years ago, MLS decided to go all in, sign Lionel Messi, who was older, kind of like the older model that we saw in the younger days of Major League Soccer, but different because he's still of quality. And a lot of people felt he was the best player in the world at that time when he came to Major League Soccer. And getting him to the league obviously gives credibility, gives buzz, excitement, gets people excited to watch the games and check out what the league's about. And we saw them bring Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets. We saw them bring Jordi Alba, all these Barca guys that people are very familiar with to try to help get more interest in the league. And we saw this shift continue with other teams last season. We saw the Vancouver Whitecaps bring in Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich, who only played for one club his entire career, World Cup winner with Germany, very recognizable player, obviously. We saw LAFC break the MLS transfer record to sign Son Heung-min, who was 32 years old, almost 33 at the time, coming from Tottenham and still playing and the best player for Korea, but still playing at a top level before he came over here. And we're seeing them get these big branded players to come to the league. And this is so important, guys. I mentioned earlier about how we pivoted to the young player. That is important too. Obviously, you have to get young players with talent who still have a lot of potential or quality years remaining, or maybe they haven't even hit their prime yet, but just quality players that still have a lot left. That's very important. But it's also important to not ditch your model of getting big names to give people the excitement of matchups. Now, for example, Cucho Hernandez, very good player for the Columbus Crew for 2 or 3 years when he was there, MVP runner up. But Cucho Hernandez, as good as he is not going to get global fans to tune into a game because a lot of people don't know who he is on the global scale. But look at this past weekend. We had Son Heung-min versus Lionel Messi in the season opener at the Coliseum, where 75,000 people were at the match in LA. I guarantee you there were a couple million people that probably watched this game all across the world because of the two players who were going to be in this game and how big of a deal it was to watch LAFC and Inter Miami, the champions of Major League Soccer. Having players that have global appeal, global recognition is going to help make the league more popular. And this blended model because the U22 rule allows teams to sign young players who have a lot of promise, a lot of talent, a lot of potential, but mix them with older veterans who have a brand. They are recognizable players. Now, they shouldn't sign players who have nothing left in the tank and are just a name. But if you look at it, the players they're signing now, outside of Messi, like I said, he's a unicorn. He might be older, but he's still one of the best players in the world. They're not signing 37-year-old players who are washed. They're signing 32, 33, 34-year-old players who still have a couple good years left in them, like Son Heung-min. Also, Antoine Griezmann. We're seeing Antoine Griezmann coming to Major League Soccer, most likely to Orlando City. And this is kind of playing into the model that we're seeing in current MLS. Antoine Griezmann is going to play for Orlando City, which is built with a team with a bunch of young players, but gives them that veteran leadership, that veteran presence, World Cup winner that kind of changes the dynamic of the team. He's going to be playing with Martin Ojeda, who is a very good playmaker, Marco Pasalic, who's a very good winger, a lot of potential, and then a couple other U22s like Thiago, who they just signed from Brazil. Just all these players that he's going to be in the fold with that can kind of unlock their potential. We saw it with Thomas Muller when he went to Vancouver. Vancouver had a very good built team with a lot of young talent, and then you slide in a veteran player who has done everything and won everything you can possibly win, and it just changes the dynamic of the team and kind of rounds them out in a good way. This is important for MLS going forward too, because when you talk about the World Cup and all these players that they're going to be rumored with signing after the World Cup, it's just going to get people more excited to tune in. There's rumors about Robert Lewandowski signing with Chicago Fire, all these big names, and they're spread out. This is going to get people engaged and tuned in. I've seen it. I saw these players get traction from South Korea, from Germany. There's just so many people that are intrigued to see their favorite players play in Major League Soccer. But if you just sign one, it's not enough. It's not enough. Lionel Messi is the biggest player in the history of the game, I think. And even signing him, the MLS didn't grow as much as they would have liked. Not because of Messi, just because of the reach, the paywall, all these obstacles. But if they keep signing more players of this, not caliber, but of name, right? Of recognition, then I think it's going to help. And I expect there to be more. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 12 to 15 teams have one marquee player. And when I say marquee player, I don't mean just quality, I mean name recognition. I'm talking about a guy that people will know that their name off the bat and watch them have a long, illustrious career in European football. And there's so many markets, so many potentials. I mean, if Antoine Griezmann's going to Orlando, which is a place that probably many people never thought he would go to, then all bets are off. And this is the perfect model. You still have to have big names. You still have to have big names. I know people are going to be interested to see how Griezmann performs when he goes to Orlando City. People want to see how Sonny's going to play for Korea this summer after being in MLS for a year. People are going to see what Messi does after being in MLS for 3 years for Argentina at the World Cup. There's having names is never going to be out of style. MLS did the right thing in trying to go towards the South American model because that's where a lot of talent is. You can bring to the league, and it has increased the quality. But you can't abandon getting big name players because if you have a big name player like Lionel Messi, for example, who played for Inter Miami or still plays for Inter Miami, and then you have a young South American player like Diego Gomez, who played with Messi for a year and a half, it helps build their name recognition and it helps give them more credibility and makes them more desirable. Because Diego Gomez played with Messi, he was able to be sold for $15 million to Brighton. Now, he has a lot of talent, and I'm not discrediting that, but just having that profile raised by having people tune into your league and see players that they rate, it just helps everything. It has a trickle down effect. So, this is the smart model. And I have said this numerous times, and I'll probably drop a video about 5 players I think will come over, but there are going to be several players who will come to Major League Soccer after the 2026 World Cup, and they will be spread out through many teams to help grow the brands. I've also said this too, if you've heard me throughout all the time I've been doing these videos. You have to spread the wealth out. You can't have all these players in one spot because then you're just telling everyone, hey, this is the only team worth watching because this is where we have all the talent stockpiled at. It's very important to spread the wealth, spread the talent out far and wide across many teams. And I'm glad MLS is recognizing that they have to go back to signing big names, but also they have to have quality too. It can't just be a name, but they have to have quality too, or something left in the tank. But I'm glad MLS is redirecting and changing their path a little bit, tweaking it, kind of blending both paths together because it's very important that they get more eyes on this league because if they don't, it's never going to grow. Let me know what you guys think about them reshifting back to big name players. Is it good? Is it bad? What do you think is best for the league going forward? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.